But I had a big falling out with WWE right as the DVD came out.
Why?
Because I listened into a conference call that I was supposed to be on a SmackDown conference call, and I listened into the Raw conference call.
What'd you hear?
Actually, this is funny, and this is a story in and of itself. I got sent home because I got busted listening into the Raw conference call, and the truth of the matter is I didn't really listen into that call. What happened is those conference calls back in December 2004 were so brutal because Vince was home on Saturdays, and he was bored. So we're going to review the shows. Now, we already reviewed the show on Thursday, and we already reviewed the show on Friday. And most of the writers back then, as you will no doubt recall, because you didn't like them either, were these, as Freddie Blassie would say, pencil neck geeks who had no sex life whatsoever. I had a healthy sex life at home and 2 small children to boot. These writers didn't have children nor sex lives. I had both. And I wanted some time at home because I was working all the time.
Yeah.
So Saturday morning, to have a chance to take my children down to the park, which is at the back of the school, which is 5 minutes from my house, seemed like a blessing. But Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, the conference call would start. What do we have for the pay-per-views? And we discussed the pay-per-views. And then, because Raw was the flagship show, let's discuss Raw. SmackDown, I'll tell you when to come back on. But the problem was, Vince, okay, I'm done with Raw. SmackDown needs to step up right now. Okay, so Vince runs away to take a bathroom break for a minute or to grab a protein bar or whatever he's doing. And by the time he comes back on the horn, if the SmackDown team's not on, he's going through the show without you.
Right.
So I don't have time to be at the park with my kids, and I get the call from whomever the assistant was back then going, okay, Vince is ready for you. Okay, I gotta go. And I have to drive back home because by the time I drive back home and get in front of my computer, Vince is going through the show. I'm a slave to the process of being on the phone for the conference call. So my girlfriend, squeeze, significant other, mother of my children, sweetheart, love of my life, however she could be phrased, she and I came up with the idea that Friday night would be our night out. And once we went out on Friday night, I would stay up all night writing the show. I'd send it to my assistant writer, who at the time was David Lagana. David Lagana would type out the show. By this time, I think Lagana was Lagana was by now either the co-writer or the lead writer, whatever it was. That was our process. I'd stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning. He'd type it out. He'd send it out at 6 o'clock in the morning. We'd say hello to everybody at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd go back to sleep. And she would take the kids to the park. So when the call came in, Vince is ready for you. I'm home already. I run to the bathroom. I do my thing. I run downstairs. I pour my iced tea or my coffee or whatever. The computer's already on. I'm on the line. And one way to do that was when the 10 o'clock call would end, I wouldn't get off the line. I'd stay on the line. I'd put the phone back in the charger, and I'd go to sleep, and I'd have the phone on mute. Hey, you need it on the phone. I'm already on the phone.
Right.
I'm there already. On that particular day, when I put the phone in the charger, it was unplugged. And so the battery, after about 2 hours on the phone, dies. So Vince is on the line, and of course they're talking about the most sensitive subjects in the world. And this is back in November, and they're talking about Raw's contribution to WrestleMania. They're on a tear. They're actually booking this thing out to WrestleMania. So imagine how top secret this is. And all of a sudden you hear, click. And I didn't say my name. And they hear, blank has left the conference. And they go, oh my God, someone is listening in to our phone call. And they research who called into the call. And of course, that's Paul's number. So, so they come to me, and Stephanie was so angry at me because I was on her team, which made her look so bad to Vince. And Stephanie comes to me and she says, how could you do this to me? Do you know how angry my father is at me? How could you listen in to the raw call? I want an explanation from you. Look me in the eyes and tell me why on this day, December 3rd, 2004, you listened in to the Raw conference call. And as God is my witness, on my children, I swore to her, I didn't listen in. Because the fact was, on that particular day, I went back to sleep. And I didn't listen in to the Raw call. And I enraged her so bad. And Vince was so mad at me, and he would say to me, look me in the face and tell me, just give me a reason why. Why would you listen into the Raw call? And I would say to him, you're the guy that wants ruthless aggression. You want true competition within your company. Now, if I thought that Raw show was truly competitive with the stuff I'm putting on SmackDown, you damn right I would listen into that call. I would hack their emails. I would steal their mail. I would put a cup up against the wall if I knew you were having a meeting in the next room, and you damn right I would listen to the conference call, because you can't tell me that if you knew that Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner were having a conference call in 1997 and you had that code, that you wouldn't listen in. He goes, good, so you're going to tell me now that you listen in. And I said, Vince, I didn't listen into that call, because the fact was I didn't. And here's the part that they've never known ever before. It's your exclusive to run with. So help me God, Steve. I didn't listen into that call. But I did listen in to the 6 other calls in the previous weeks before that. But since they never asked me if I did, I never copped to it.
Jesus Christ. You're a piece of work.
So they threw me out after I did a casket match with Heidenreich and The Undertaker. Yeah. And The Undertaker tombstone me and put me into the casket, which was my farewell. But then they tried to put together this ECW show, and it was going all wrong, which is, of course, the history of ECW. And by the time we hit March, Shane is calling me saying, hey, you mind coming in for a meeting? I don't want to get you too close to my old man, but maybe you could just talk to me about it. And the first thing I said was, book the Hammerstein Ballroom. Don't go to the ECW arena. Right. And once they took a look at the Hammerstein Ballroom, they said, well, what's the show going to be? And Rob Van Dam said to Vince, again, this was Rob Van Dam's idea. He says, hey, man, just so you know, if Paul's not writing it and producing it, it's not going to be authentic. You have to let this be his vision, his flow. He understands this product because it was his. Yeah, it's my baby. So Vince and I had I'm sure you've had these meetings, where you walk in the room and he goes, I don't know if this is going to be a hug or if we're going to be throwing around the furniture, And I always remember that was the thing with you and him. And, when you guys saw each other in the hotel room in LA and my thing always was, well, at least it won't be a long fight, because he'd whip my ass really, really good. And the only hopes I had was, boy, I'm just wondering though, if I just got in one lucky shot, what's he going to tell people? That Heyman got me, But I said, well, can we just do the hug? And instead of doing a hug, it was such a great Vince move. He gives me a handshake, and he says, let's see how the meeting goes before we do a huggy. And, here you have this big barrel-chested bodybuilder, and he's Vince McMahon, and he could whip my ass 15 times over. And when he just says something like that, like a huggy, I'll give him you know how he is. Yeah. It breaks the ice. Yeah. And we sat there, we had this wonderful conversation about what I envisioned the show to be. And he said, I'm at TV Monday and Tuesday. I'm back here Wednesday. And classic Vince, where they were in Phoenix or something that Tuesday, and he goes, I'll probably be back here around 4 o'clock in the morning. And you know me, I can't sleep. And that Monday night, I have to talk to somebody on Monday night after the show, so I won't have time to work out. So I'm going to miss a workout. When I come back, I'm going to work out till I puke. I'm going to work out till I puke. I said, oh, that's really nice. I usually, eat pizza till I puke. And he says, what are you doing Wednesday morning around 7 a.m.? And I said, I don't know, probably going to bed. And he goes, let's meet then, because I'll just be done working out, and I'll sleep sometime on Wednesday. And we met the next Wednesday because I was in the office at Wednesday at 7 a.m. We actually wrote out the first version of the show, and from there they just kept me around enough to write ECW One Night Stand.
What happened in the match? So when I turned around, it was like, Shad, hit our finish. I'm like, okay, I guess they have some type of agreement. I mean, I mess up the finish. So I hit the ropes, hit the finish.
And what was your finish?
It was called the G9. Shad would hold him in like in a Samoan drop position, and I'll hit the ropes and hit him with a neck breaker.
Okay, so you guys are going down at the same time as you're twisting in the air.
Yeah. You know, we protected the ref. Well, Shad took a little extra liberties and took the belt off the ref and his shirt and auctioned it off to the crowd. You know, he wanted to make sure the crowd was left happy, I guess.
Can you say who the ref was? Are you at liberty to say? Do you remember?
Marty? I just saw him.
Marty Elias?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I saw him last week.
Marty's probably one of the guys that you could do that to and probably wouldn't even care too much. Probably.
I didn't think he cared, but when we got backstage, they was concerned. Oh, you bumped the ref? Like, okay. Yeah. You do it all the time. Oh, you bumped the ref? How you know he's trained to be bumped like that? Like, okay.
It is kind of something that you probably shouldn't do on the fly. You know, I mean, maybe.
I definitely agree, but yeah.
But so you learn it. So you come back and you're getting yelled at and screamed at.
Well, Shad is.
Okay.
Our agent at the time, I believe it was Barry Windham. Mm-hmm. He said, I need to talk to you. So I'm following Shad. I'm following behind them, and he's like, no, I don't need to talk to you. I just need to talk to Shad. I'm like, oh man, okay. And I didn't hear the details of him yelling at him, but yeah, he was yelling pretty loud at Shad, and I was like, damn, this is bad. And then when Shad came back out, we were all sitting by the ring monitor, and the face of the company is just yelling at the top of his lungs at Shad and telling him how stupid he is, and I was like, damn, this is bad. And then some reason he started yelling at both of us and insulting both of us. I'm like, oh man. It was a bad day.
So you're guilty by association for what Shad did, right?
There's a lot of that. Yeah. You read the book. There's a lot of guilty.
Yeah, there's a lot of, because I mean, in the realm of the crime time world, Shad was the guy who always kind of had more heat.
Yeah.
And you were dragged along. It reminded me a lot of what was his name? Hassan. Muhammad Hussein and Daivari.
Oh, okay.
Where Daivari got a lot of heat just because
he was the JTG of the crew?
He was the JTG of the Arabic heels.
Arabic time?
Yeah, exactly, Arabic time. So yeah, so the next day, did they continue to yell at you, or is that why you got fired? Or
oh yeah, we got called into the office, and I thought it was going to be a big fine. I was told we were about to win the titles. That's what I was told, and I even stung more. We were about to win the tag team titles because there was a pay-per-view when we came back from the tour, and they're like, okay, they're not gonna fire us. We're about to be the tag team.
Yeah,
we're about to be the tag team.
They can't
champs.
fire us. Come on,
and we're over. Sure. We get into that office. He gave us some long lecture about how they were disappointed in us, and you guys had so much potential. You guys were showing so much improvement, and I was like, oh, damn, how much is this fine gonna be? 20,000? Sheesh, that's the whole tour probably. Yeah. I don't know. And then he just said, we're going to have to let you guys go. And my jaws dropped. I said, what? You're going to release us? But we're over.
You can't replace us.
And he was like, yeah. And then I had to drive home. Shad got a flight home. But since I was so close I was living in Kentucky at the time.
Where were you guys?
I believe we were in Ohio or
like
Cleveland,
Cincinnati
somewhere.
or something in Cleveland. Yeah.
So I had to drive 3 hours. That was a sad 3 hours. And then the worst part of it all, not the drive. The drive home was bad too, but they treated us like we were like we just snuck backstage because we got escorted out by security.
Oh,
we had to go get our bags from the locker room. And then the security, who we see all the time, he's like, come on, guys, we got to go now. And I'm like, what? You guys serious? Like, what are we going to do? Like, mess shit up on the way out?
Right.
Maybe Shad would have, but.
That's embarrassing, right?
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing.
I know, like, my cousin got fired a few years ago, and they had to, like, empty out his desk. And, you know, while they watched him, like, here's a box. Like, put your stuff in the box and leave now. And it's like, you guys are my friends. It's like, not anymore. Oh, that's talking about the walk of shame, right?
Yes, the walk of shame. And everybody was like, where are you guys going? I didn't want to say anything. I was like,
we're going to film a vignette.
We'll be right back.
I think it had to do more with Peter Young and Mr. T being the star of the 80s. I was kind of like hanging on to the coattails then.
Who's Peter Young?
He's my agent.
Okay, gotcha.
And he was also Mr. T's agent.
Okay.
And to back the story up even farther, and this is how it all started. When Stallone was looking for a wrestler for the Rocky movie, his casting agent was a lady named Rhonda Young. She was like the main casting agent through Hollywood through the 70s and 80s. So when Stallone goes, hey, Rhonda, you know, I need a wrestler for this cameo part, she went to her brother, Peter Young, who was in Boston, who's a huge wrestling mark, said, hey, Peter, who's the wrestler we should cast for the Rocky movie? So he was watching wrestling, and he said, oh, you got to get Hulk Hogan. So you'll hear all these stories from Gorilla Monsoon, you know, backdooring the thing, who I took his spot in the movie, to Arnold Schwarzenegger giving me, I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger, Arnold Skolin getting me the part, to George Napolitano getting me the part, you know, to Bill Apter. Oh, actually, I saw Bill, hey, remember, brother, I'm the one that got you in the Rocky movie. You know? Yes, but the truth is it came from Peter Young, who at the time was Mr. T's agent. And after he got me in the Rocky movie, he asked me if I need an agent. And I said, I think so, because I don't think I did too good negotiating this deal for myself. You know.
Were you working for Vince at that point in time, or were you still working for Vern Gagne?
Well, I was working for Vince, but right after I took the part, he fired me.
Why?
Mindset, barbaric mindset. You know, if you're a wrestler, you don't do TV, you don't do commercials, you don't do.
This is junior or senior?
Senior.
Really?
And so senior, you know, and actually the truth was he had me booked. I was in Fall River working a house show, and the next day I was supposed to, that night after I finished, they put me on before intermission. I was supposed to drive from Fall River and be at TV for Crockett.
Okay.
It was either in Atlanta or Charlotte, I can't remember, at noon.
Right. So
I was going to drive all night to go to TV, and I called Vince, you know, who I was kind of like Vince's boy, young boy coming up. And so I called Vince at home in Fort Lauderdale. I said, hey, Vince, Tony Gurria just told me I had to be at Crockett TV at noon. I said, brother, I told you like 2 weeks ago, you know, that I was going to do this Rocky movie. And Vince Senior goes, no, you're not doing that movie. And so when I called him at home in Fort Lauderdale, he says, look, if you do the movie, you will never work here again. And so I went and did the movie.
Because you're thinking, like, this is a big chance to be in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
plus I was single and I had a gorgeous girl in Japan. And I love being in Japan. I love spending 22, 24, 26 weeks a year in Japan.
Yeah.
And, I loved it over there. So I was like, Japan's a lot easier than being over here for me. You know, as partners with Hanson, we were just raping and pillaging, having a blast over there, you know.
Was that your first kind of really big run, or were you kind of already in AWA having a big run at that point in time too?
No, it was before the AWA.
So this is one of your first big
this
places.
was when I went in as a heel with Fred Blassie, and the big deal was Shea Stadium with Andre. That was the big deal, the Shea Stadium thing with Andre, and my run with Andre, because what happened was things were all still territorial, and Andre had nobody to work with in all these territories. So they got me hot on the TV by Feed Me guys in Allentown, Reading. Then they'd send me to Watts' territory for 2 weeks. And I'd beat everybody up in Watts' territory. Then Andre would come in, shoot an angle on TV, bang, hit him with the gimmick, he'd get a little kizzle, or then we'd go out and sell the Superdome out or something.
Right.
You know? And so I did that all around the territory. So Andre needed someone to travel with him and party with him, so I was a designated driver. So that's how the first run was. And then when I got the call for the Rocky movie, I thought it was the boys ribbing me. So at Allentown TV, I got this Western Union letter. I went, yeah, right. I went to Japan for like 4 weeks, called Vince Senior and said, can I stay 4 more weeks? He goes, yeah. And then I came back from Japan. I guess I left. I was about 3:30, and when he saw me, I was like 280. He goes, what happened to you?
You'd been in Japan for 5 or 8 weeks.
Yeah. And so, I came back from Japan, and then right when I was back, probably a couple months later, it was time to go do the movie, and then all hell broke loose. And
it's interesting. I've never told you this because I haven't talked to you in a long time, but my very first...
I don't know exactly, and I'm honest when I don't know this. I don't know if you were just fired from WWE or if the contract expired, but I know before you left WWE that you had done an angle on TV that you were being fired.
Right.
Did you know that there was a connection between those two at that time?
No.
So you being dismissed from WWE was a pretty big shock to you.
That was what happened was that I think when it went down to it, I wanted to know more about it. Maybe I got more belligerent about it than I should have. Right. Because I don't think the angle in it was then that was just to fire me. Right, and so it wasn't, and I think that I probably got more upset than than anything about it. Right, and it was. It turned out to be that it wasn't them, it was me.
Some people have reported that you were fired because you had a drinking problem.
Oh, I drank a lot.
But would you say that was one of the reasons that would be true, or do you think that's just a reason?
No, I wasn't fired because of the drinking problem. I might have had some problems when I went up to WrestleMania 20, right? All right, and probably got in some trouble when I was up there with drinking, right? And I had a problem that night. That's for damn sure. That's no problem. There's no secret about that. But I think I made more of the big deal about it, than it was with them. They were very supportive with me doing that, and they were very supportive with me going out and taking care of my problem and handling them, which I did.
Right.
And I'm grateful to them for that. So yeah. So I mean, hey. That was more of, like I said, it was more of my fault. It wasn't them.
First angle in WWE was against China.
Right.
Where I had to put her over.
Right.
Now, I remember one time you had to put over Jackie and wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Right? Did you get suspended for that? Or
I got fired.
You got fired for that?
Fired for that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I got fired because, but here was the deal with that. It's is when they, when Eric and Kevin brought me in to explain the angle to me, I had 4 months left on my deal, okay? So they're basically like, they're not on the same page when they're explaining it to me. That's one thing I realized right off the bat. But I'm asking, well, what happens to me after this? Mm. And like Eric says, well, I could see you do, doing an angle where the guys are saying something to you and you punch it, and then again, Kevin Sullivan, who's the booker, is like saying, no, I see you going away for 6 months. Do the math, brother. It's like, okay, I got 4 months left on my deal. I got, go away for 6 months, and I'm like, all right, so when I left the room, I called, Paige was a good friend of mine. Terry Taylor, who was on the booking committee, was a good friend of mine and everything. Bro, everybody I talked to said, don't do it. They said, do not do that. Just tell them you're not doing it. Every single person, the boys, the office guy was telling me to say, one of the bookers tell me to tell the other bookers you're not doing it. And so I told them.
What was their mindset for that? Just can't lose to a woman?
Was just back then,
Yeah, it was different then.
It's just different. This is before China,
right?
Because China's a monster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when they're telling me, I see you going and having a hell of a match with her. I'm like, guys, I'm 220. I go, you're portraying her on TV as tough. She's a 120-pound girl.
Right.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I go, we could go out there and shoot, and she might be able to hold her own for a minute, but I'm going to, it would be domestic. It would be abuse, right? So, it is what it is. But so I basically got fired. Okay.
So you told him I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it, and say Eric says you're fired. I'm all right,
that quickly.
Okay.
Eric said you're fired.
That quick. And they kind of screwed me because Eric had told me that I was going to they were going to let me go. Okay, because I had 4 months left. But they hit me with the no compete. Okay, and so I get the 4 month no compete. So during that time, Russo was writing for them, and
writing for Vince.
For Vince, yeah. And so. He didn't call me directly, but I'd heard that they wanted to bring me in. Okay, like all right, and to the point that they actually put a silhouette of me, my character, a silhouette in the WWE magazine. Okay,
really?
Yeah, because Vince thought I was going to be coming in. I talked.
So Vince liked the character,
like character, yeah. And so the Honky Tonk Man's protege was going to be the actual gimmick.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah, when I was a huge, I was like, oh, okay. But I never talked to Russo. Okay, so Cornette had called me up a couple times. He was in talent relations then. And what's your status? I'm like, okay, we'll get the 4 month no compete. Here's the date that I could, and I had probably 2 or 3 conversations with them over the course of a few months. And I had to reiterate every time. It's like, well, I get my 4 months is coming up, now the date is this date, Yeah. And then I finally talked to Bruce Pritchard. And I just reiterated the exact same conversation I was having with Cornette with Bruce Pritchard. I told him that they didn't hire me. Okay, and Bruce Pritchard I found out later that he told Vince he didn't like what I told him. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever.
Yeah.
So then I saw Sting in the gym, and Sting and me were always cool. And he had told me, hey, well, let me. I told him my situation, because I've been, I'm out of work right now. So and he says, let me see what I can do. Okay, and he got me my job back. But they brought me back under the condition that I had to put over Jacqueline. Okay, so now I come back. It's like four and a half months later. Okay, so I've gone through so it's 4.5 months later, and Eric just is adamant on just making
the
me
principal.
Yeah, the principal. Okay, but so because like they didn't, you know how they were with the mid card guys.
Yeah.
They didn't really care. You know, like they could do angles with us and everything, and it would be like, okay, I don't even know if they would watch on the monitor or even pay attention. You know, because like they only cared about some big stuff. So I don't even think Eric realized this, but. They knew I was going to have to put her over, so Terry Taylor put the TV title on me. Okay, so they put I got the TV title, and then they're trying to like, well, we can't beat him. Like, hey, the girl beat him because he's a TV champion. They're like trying to work Eric, you know, like.
Which is so funny when you think like Eric, like I'm thinking WWE, Vince would have to sign off on you being the TV champion.
Right.
There, Eric didn't even care or even know, right? Yeah.
Probably not. And the funny thing was, so if I would have had this conversation with Eric before I'd gotten fired, okay, if they were more clear to me about what they wanted, okay, and so Eric explained to me what he wanted. I go, what exactly do you want with this, okay, with the match? It's like, well, just one thing, you grow up, you've been taught you can't hit a girl, okay, so you have to like construct a match. The girl wants to wrestle you, but you can't. You can't go out there and beat up a girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, that's. I felt like, oh, why didn't you guys tell me this before? I could do a match around this concept, and because she's pretty athletic, and she can do a lot of stuff. We can do stuff where I can skate around the issue where I'm not really hitting her, but I'm wrestling her and stuff and all that. So, and if you ever watch that match, you probably wouldn't, but I mean, it was pretty entertaining for what we did, and it actually made a lot of sense in the story that was told to me then, and the way the announcers told the story.
So once you tell it in a way that makes the description and the information, the details that you need to make it work.
Right, exactly.